I'm Penny Pullen, and I'm here with Helen Winter. Helen is somebody who goes into organisations who are struggling with complex situations where it's really hard to work out what's going on and what isn't quite working. And when she goes in, she manages to see what's going on. I think it's years of experience, but it's really, really helpful for people. So I've got a question for you, Helen. There are a lot of companies at the moment that are wanting to move to agile. And I know that there are lots of things they should be thinking about and lots of pitfalls that they should avoid. So a few questions. Why do companies want to move to agile in the first place?
I think there's two reasons. Sometimes, well, the biggest reason for when I've worked at companies that want to move agile has been when something needs to be done quickly. There's a tight time scale and timeline, and they haven't got time to have the risk of doing things one after the other and ending up with the risk of it extending outwards because the deadline has to be met. That's the first reason why companies tend to want to move to agile. Also, if they've got particular products, because the sooner they get something out to market, the sooner they'll earn money. So that's kind of another reason. Another reason, though, that I've probably found where it's probably the least likely to be successful is if they just do it because they think they should. And I've come across that a few times. And that's probably the one where I haven't seen it succeed as much because it doesn't necessarily have the buy-in in the right places. It might not have the right setup. The right reasons for doing it might not be there. So there's kind of three reasons, really. They're the main ones, I think.
And then, of course, the $60 million question, why does it sometimes go wrong?
So, yeah, the buy-in, getting the buy-in, especially if you haven't got buy-in at the top, you haven't got that thing to push it through. Sometimes it might not be the right project to do it with or the right time to do it. So with agile, you have to be able to show things on a regular basis, like show and tells. If the project isn't visible at all, it's great for websites, but if it's all to do with calculations and you've got nothing to show, then that can make it very difficult. Culture's a big one as well, where it goes wrong. So, if you get a team together, and for example, if you bring in a traditional project manager that's sort of lead and command, then that goes against the whole culture of agile as trying to get people to work as a team and come up with their own solutions and work in a different way. And it can cause a lot of conflict. I've seen that happen. And then another reason where I've seen it go horribly wrong is where you're working with like third parties that can't work the same way. And that's probably been the most often where I've seen it go wrong and it's very difficult because there's nothing you can do about it because, if you're working with a third party and they've said the only way we can work is waterfall, then it just doesn't work.
So there are people trying to do some sort of combination of agile at one end and waterfall in a different place, and they're so different, aren't they?
Yeah, you just can't have that. Another cultural type scenario I've come across is where companies where decision making, for example, is done by lots and lots of different people, and where they have lots and lots of meetings. And with agile, it's the sort of product owner role, for example. The whole idea is that things can be done quicker because you go to one person that can make all the decisions and is in a strong enough position, is senior enough to make those decisions. And that's where I've kind of seen it go wrong as well. Where I've seen things go well is where they've got a product owner that's in the right position of authority, got the right seniority, and has had good coaching. That's where I've seen it work well. So it makes such a difference if you set things up in the right way. You've got much more chance of success. The trouble is sometimes I've seen things have gone wrong, and then it's seen as a dirty word, and then it's almost like nothing's allowed to be. The word's not allowed to be used, which I think is a shame because sometimes some of the sort of principles behind agile are quite important. So to kind of then go, no, it's a dirty word, we can't ever discuss it ever again, then that kind of loses out some of the advantages it can have.
It does, doesn't it? And especially in the sort of disrupted world that we're in now, surely it makes sense to do things in a more flexible way where you actually can change course slightly as you go through as well.
Yeah, I mean, like a recent program we've been working on, one of the things it does very quickly is it shows where things are wrong, so you can correct them quicker. You haven't got to wait until someone's finished a document and it's been reviewed and signed off to then find that something's not quite right. So and that's where I've seen it work really well when you want to do things with speed, because then you've got people are motivated. It's a lot more resource intensive. That's another area that can go wrong, where if if the testers if the test manager goes, oh, I haven't got resource, you can have them in 2 months' time because that's how we normally work, then that's not gonna help. So it's trying to get the right people all together at the right time, and ideally dedicated as well. It kind of fails if you've got people part-time, because then you're constantly stopping and starting.
Absolutely. Wow, Helen, from what you're saying, you obviously know an awful lot about this and have done this many times and have managed to get things going again, I should imagine, quite a bit. So how can people find out a little bit more about you? And if they're in this situation and they're thinking, oh, we could really do with her input, how can they get hold of you?
Okay. So if they just want sort of more information about it, to read up about it, I've got a book, the Business Analysis Handbook, which is kind of full of information about when you'd use agile, what sort of things you need to do. So if they're just looking for like a reference, then my book's available, or they can contact me through my business email address at helen.winter@businessbullet.co.uk. Just get in touch with me through that address or LinkedIn, and we can chat from there.
Thank you very much.